morning, everybody. Welcome to Living With Us. I'm your host, Sharon Mundia, and we're here at Park Inn by Radisson, 11th floor. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful morning. And I want us to have a conversation about deceit and the art of deceit. Now, one of my favorite movies, or actually trilogy, is the Ocean's 11 and 12 and 13 trilogy. I just think it's really cool how they go out and they're like smart about how they con these millionaires and billionaires. But what if that con job was happening to you? Have you ever been deceived? Have you ever found yourself giving out money only to find out that the person who was asking for it, the person that you trusted, wasn't who you thought it was? So today's show is all about that. How do you make sure that you are keen to spot anyone who's actually trying to deceive you, any con artists, be it when it comes to notes or land transactions or even cybercrime? And I've got the experts here with me. I've got John Andrew Musundi, who's the CEO of John Andrews Risk Management. Welcome.
Thank you.
And then I've got his colleague, Lucy Wamboye-Ndongo, who's a senior analyst at the same company at John Andrews. So, morning. I've got to ask, do you guys like Ocean's 11? Have you watched it?
Yes.
Isn't it so cool?
Very nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
but when you're watching, you're like, come on, get in. You can just hide there. Just trick them well and get that money. And then, but when you really think about it, it's the art of deceit at its, at its prime. Yeah, at its prime.
Yes.
And if you were on the receiving end, which I'm pretty certain a lot of us have at some point wondered, like, wait a second, should I trust this person? It wouldn't be as exciting.
Yes.
So I guess my first question is, how rampant, or how big an issue is con men and con women in this market?
Conning is a real big issue because currently we see the economic situation in the country. People don't have jobs. There's no money in circulation, so people are looking for ways to make money. They'll either get it through robbing you or coming to con you, or some of them will do legitimate business. But it's quite rampant at the moment because even most of the youths don't have jobs. So it leads to them watching movies and trying to apply what they watch in real life.
Oh, wow. So really trying to pull an Ocean's 11, 12 job.
Yes.
job. Wow, interesting. So tell me a little bit about John Andrews Risk Management.
So a company basically does security advisory. We've been operational for the past 6 years. We operate in different countries: Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Nigeria. And our core services are basically along the lines of corporate security, corporate investigation, information gathering, and also advising clients on how to engage locals, especially in big projects.
Okay.
And also fraud investigation.
Ooh, fraud. Yeah, that must be a big one. I mean, the other day we were speaking to someone who's in the money lending business, and specifically in the apps that have been coming out more and more that allow a lot more Kenyans to access funds.
Yes.
And he was saying that was a huge problem. People, coming in, signing up, borrowing and not giving back. So they really had to look out for fraudsters in their business because he was taking out a huge chunk of their revenues. So let's talk about con men, a con artist rather, because it's a con man or woman. What makes a good con man good? What should you look out for when it comes to a con artist?
First, he's an artist.
Right.
Yeah. So you come across those who are amateurs and then those who are professionals at different levels. So depending on what area their interest is in, then you will find the different categories, amateur or professional.
Okay.
So take for example a CEO of a company. He has the experience handling business, so he knows when someone is coming to him to deceive him. But if you take someone out of school, a college person has no experience, they will also meet a con artist at that level. So they scale up or they scale down depending on what their target is. A con artist usually, again, depending on what their target is, they will present themselves in an amiable way, you know, a likable way. They'll use a soft person to introduce themselves. Like you've mentioned in Ocean's 11, they work in a team, so they're not alone. So there'll be someone to come and break the ice. Yeah, so you may not suspect that person. It could be a woman who is asking you for your telephone, and maybe they get she needs to make a call, and then thereafter they will start tracking you or following you up, and slowly they begin to build your profile. And then again, another person will introduce themselves with a dilemma, and then the team begins to work. So the person who introduces themselves with a dilemma will then now begin to spin the tale. And this is where now the art comes in. Can you set a bait? Will this person take the bait? Yeah. So usually they present themselves very well. Sometimes it's a damsel in distress, depending on who the target is. And they will try multiple times. So it could be the same network, but having different people coming to pray at you. So there's no particular frame of saying a conman looks like this, a conwoman looks like this. Both sexes work together and at all ages. Sometimes even a child will be sent to come to you, to lure you. And then once the bait is there, you take the bait, they now start playing.
So it's very sophisticated.
Very sophisticated.
Okay. So you mentioned targets a couple of times, or prey, who they choose to prey on. Who are they most likely to look out for or to prey on? Is there a certain kind of person or personality that is more prone to, being the targets of con artists?
I would say they usually profile a target. So, for example, if you're looking at Sharon, we'll take Sharon as an individual and try to get some background of what you do, what you like, what are your hobbies. So we'll get something that's similar to what you like. For example, if you like going out for trips, then you'll find a person who has a similar taste to what you're used to. Then that will be, as Lucy stated, that will be the first measure to break the ice. So somebody will get into conversation with you and start talking about trips, going to a certain place, then.
But you see, what if there's a part of my personality that already would be like, no, you don't get to sit next to me and start, I don't know you. Who are you? Sorry, what, you know? Or is there a part of your personality that might make someone a little less likely to prey on you? And I also want to give the example of, I remember reading somewhere that child molesters, for instance, child predators in that sense, are less likely to go for a child who's very outspoken, because they will be, I don't know how true it is, but the premise behind that was that they're more boisterous, they're more likely to say something, and so they like to prey on people quiet. Or I even heard women who have ponytails are more likely to be targets of rapists, because it allows them to hold on to something when they're trying to, it's probably a very dark example that I've given, but I guess I'm wondering, in the same breath, could there be a trait or a personality trait, character trait that would make someone more prone, something that they should possibly be more aware of?
Without discounting studies that have been done elsewhere around the world, I think some of those ideas that have been put across, like the woman with the ponytail, basically that's a bit Eurocentric. But in this context, African context, I would say the profile would be different. Okay, women are primarily targets of con men, because women tend to get excited very quickly with an idea, and they'll be easily engaged. A woman can walk up to you and say, I have this problem, can you help me? And then as you're talking to her, she begins now to lure you. Women, we are very open in that way, and we easily engage, and we empathize with this other person who's presenting themselves as a victim. While men may be more critical they may be able to think on how can I fix this. A woman will try and give you some small counseling session, sympathize with the situation. By that time, they're already casting their net. It's a seduction. So a man will easily pull out. So the way they will approach a man would be very different from the way they will approach a woman.
Okay.
Yeah, and in this context, I would say those who are also on the target, again, depending on the level, depends on the season. For example, when it's time to go back to school, many students have got school fees.
Right.
Yeah. So you find that they are lured into games, these pata-potea things, or they go somewhere and they're told they can make more money. Or students in campus, they also fall victim to such schemes. So depending on the season, many people will fall prey.
Right.
Yeah.
So they know, they really are, know
but
what to
for
prey
that
on.
person sitting in the office, a CEO, they will have to sit down, as he said. They will profile you and they will take their time.
Yeah.
And they will get to know you, your likes and dislikes.
So essentially, no one is con-proof.
No one is con-proof.
Okay,
Yeah.
so anyone
can
I mean,
con.
the other, there was the whole issue of how much was stolen. Someone called the president. What was that? What was the amount? Was it
a million?
Was it a million? I think it was more than $1 million. I mean, but even then, someone was able to use the president's persona, voice, and get. And you would think there's no way. There's no possible way you can get money pretending to be the president. But I guess. You're right. No one is con-proof.
Yeah.
So you've talked a little bit about. I think you mentioned documents. How do you spot fake documents, and especially when it comes to title deeds? Because I think that's a lot of people have fallen prey, or at least know someone who's fallen prey to putting up money because there was a title here, but next thing you know, when you go into to clear, it turns out actually all of it was fake. So is there something to look out for when it comes to such government documents, when it comes to, when you're purchasing land?
When you're purchasing land, the first thing you should always do is that you should engage a legal firm to do that for you. Then the second thing is that before you purchase that piece of land, you should go to the area where that piece of land is located and get to know the history from the neighbors who are around that particular area. That's even before you engage that individual to tell him, I'm interested to buy. So it gives you a background on knowing this land was owned by this individual. Go see that individual, go see the neighbors. They'll give you a history of that particular piece of land. Then visit that particular place frequently. After that, when you're about to do anything or a deal with the guy you're supposed to do a deal with, take photos with him on that particular piece of land. Even take a selfie.
That's a good tip.
Yes.
Take a photo.
Yeah.
And how would you, actually I interviewed the CEO of PRC, which is one of the, biggest real estate companies. And he said the same. He said, one, engage a legal representative, but also go and scout the area, ask the neighbors. And when I asked, well, are you likely to get your money back after if you do get conned? What are the chances that you can? And he was like, very slim.
Yes.
But it's interesting to note that a photo is a great way to have at least some kind of photographic evidence.
Yes.
That's a good tip.
Yes. Okay. Then the other thing is that before even you buy the particular piece of land, the legal firm you engage will basically do a search for you. I know there are certain instances where the green book is forged on the other side, where you have people in a certain department forging the book. But once you get the history of that particular piece of land and you engage the right people, then you'll be certain that you'll be buying a genuine piece of land instead of just buying the air. Currently we have most young people are looking to buy land. So once you hear a piece of land is going for 100,000, you'll say, this is an opportunity I won't get elsewhere.
Right.
Instead of you doing due diligence first before you purchase that particular piece of land. So we end up falling prey to conmen or even certain organizations that will go bust in the future.
Yeah.